All pop culture references mentioned during this podcast are analyzed and scored by artificial intelligence. Jeff and Chris have learned not to argue with AI's decisions and strongly suggest you shut your mouth as well.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed the last episode where we
I
did
hope so.
do our best, Chris, our best effort to dip our toes in the water of what it was like to be a girl back in the 70s and 80s. We are very male-dominated on this show. We're not trying to be, but, we've been told many times, and it's a valid bit of feedback, I guess you could say, that we really are testosterone centric on this show. So hopefully that little side trip was kind of fun for people.
All we know is how we think they must have felt, which was Jesus H, teen idols, easy bake ovens, cute boys calling you. That's what you have to aspire to. So absolutely, we and there's more of that to half of our listening audience, which you mentioned last time. Does seem to be of the female persuasion. We'll get more of that in, and we have not forgotten about your needs and your experiences.
Right. Well, I
Maybe
did.
their
I
needs.
did look at the Google metrics, and yes, we are still maintaining a pretty even split, right? From the age group of 45 to 60. By God, it is split right down the middle. I don't know who these people are who are in the age group of like 18 to 25. I can't even imagine that there are people that young listening to the show. I mean, God bless them. Maybe they're actually just listening to us so they can take little sound bites and mix it into their EDM track. I have no idea why anybody would listen to this in that age group, but
Or we're going
apparently.
to show up on somebody's TikTok, or we're going to be the subject of somebody's term paper on misogyny or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, whoever you are, whatever age
Yeah.
or whatever gender you may be, all are welcome.
Okay, well, cool. So the next order of business, as is now the norm on the show, and by the norm, I mean we've done this, I think, 2 episodes in a row, so I guess now that's
That
a
makes it the
pattern,
norm. Sure.
is we like to start things off now by finding out who won the previous episode, right? So again, here's the new thing, guys. If you want to know who won, right? You can always go to the website, nicepollpod.com, click on scoreboard, and it will show you in just a ridiculous amount of detail on every single poll, who polled it, what it was, how it happened, why it happened, what it means, and exactly how many points were awarded. But here is the final tally, Chris. Let's take a look at who won last episode of Nice Poll.
This guy. It's this guy.
For those of you listening in right now, Chris kicked my effing ass by about 140,000 points.
139, but
he
who's counting?
I knew he would, but I thought your Uniden cordless phone was
So
going to
did
be the
I.
big, and it was that's big, Chris, 90,000
Okay.
points. But
Right.
what was the one that really pushed you over the edge?
It was Saturday morning TV's Billy Batson himself, and also Billy Batson / Teen Idol / one-time
Yeah.
Brady Bunch guest star Michael Gray.
My God.
And
Oh my God. Wow.
so
Okay.
somehow AI, and again, everybody needs to understand, you're not scoring these, I'm not scoring these. This is
Nope.
purely, purely from, purely objective from the AI, and basically AI
Yeah.
thought that Michael
Yeah.
Gray was the poll that basically put me over the top, at least for this week. There's 2 things I have to say to that. One of them would be Shazam, And the second one would be, hey, Michael Gray, open invitation. If you're ever want to jump on the show, you know where to find us, or maybe you don't know where to find us. But yeah, Michael Gray, who I
Yeah.
probably hadn't thought of in years and probably won't think of again.
I like the fact that you say you probably haven't thought of him in years, as if there's a chance why in the world would it ever of course you
Bec-
haven't thought of him in years. Like, what would make you think of him? That would be so weird.
no, because I think he was in one or both of those Shazam movies that came out in the past few years as one of those wink, wink, nod, nod cameos.
Oh,
So I
cool,
think,
cool. Okay,
and
right
and I
on.
think he was decked out in his. We'd have to check it out, and in his Billy Batson attire, which was like this red, like I guess sort of sweatshirt with a yellow collar, which was number one.
Oh, yeah.
It was very coincidentally the same colors as, Shazam, who at the time was called Captain Marvel, but that got into a whole rights
Right.
thing. But so same colors there, and and much like Mentor, right? The guy that was Les Tremaine who drove around in the Winnebago with him, right?
What?
His name was
You know
Mentor.
that guy's
Do you?
name too?
Of course, yeah,
Wait,
because
what was his name?
Les Tremaine, and Les Tremaine was like
How do you
some guy from
fucking
like the
know that guy's name?
I honest to God think my mom must have told me. I think we're talking like I was like 9 or 10 because Les
Oh, was she a
Tremaine
big
was
fan of that
well,
guy? Okay,
well,
maybe.
he was probably I think Les Tremaine was some sort
Character
of
actor. Yeah,
B version of
yeah.
like Rock Hudson or something in like the
Oh,
50s.
okay.
And and
The Rock
so but
Hudson that you get on Temu? Okay, got it. I see.
exactly. Not
Okay,
exactly the off-brand
yeah,
Rock Hudson. So,
right.
Les
Rock Hudson
Tremaine
adjacent.
Les Tremaine,
Yeah.
who was Mentor, which was interesting in itself, because he's the mentor. It's like, again, let's step into the Shazam writers' room and go, what do we call this character? Who's the mentor? It's like, I got it. Let's just call him
Look,
Mentor.
we're not paid to overthink this. Just fucking call him mentor. Let's move on. We got other things to do, man. I still have to write 6 more episodes of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, so let's not fucking dick around. And by the way, let's take middle-aged men traveling around in RVs picking up young children for 1,000. I once again have to go back to Escape to Witch Mountain. It's like, hey, young kids that I've never
Mhm.
met before, get in my RV. Again, we've already mentioned this, but it still just blows my mind that was a concept. Nobody thought twice of it. They're like, yep, those kids are orphans and they're running around and they're in danger. Just get in that guy's RV. I'm sure everything's going to turn out fine.
Both Billy and Mentor and Captain Marvel / Shazam for the same reason, but that's a costume. They wore the same thing in every episode, right? Billy had like these sort of
Like
weird.
cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mentor wore
Yeah.
like this white sort of field jacket, like he
No, it
was.
was like you know what it was like? It was like he was on a safari, is what it was like to me. Like any minute now, he's gonna pull out like a 45-70 rifle and shoot a white rhino. That's what it always looked like to me.
Exactly. It's like, which I think then became like the go-to wardrobe for like directors for a while, right? They would wear that or like a vest that was like the same kind of thing. It's like, you're not in
Oh,
combat.
right.
Why are you wearing that? So anyway, yeah. So he wore that safari jacket.
Well, you've never worked with Jan Michael Vincent, so you don't know what combat is, Chris. You've never worked on Danger Island. That was a tough set, buddy.
When are we
Okay.
gonna? Yeah, when are we gonna talk about Airwolf on this show? I mean, come on, if we're gonna do Jan Michael Vincent, Damnation Alley. That was an
Wow.
awesome one as
There
well.
you go. Let's do a
But
Jan Michael Vincent only episode. I
yeah,
think that would be amazing. Yeah.
Defiance, Hooper, Big Wednesday. Oh man, we could talk about
Are
all
you
of this.
literally reading IMDb right now? What is
No, I'm not. Do
happening?
I look like I'm reading IMDb? These are not those like pimpy like Google glasses. Although those would be really good for this show. Got it scrolling through
I
as we
cannot
talk.
believe that anybody thinks somebody would actually wear those. They make X-ray specs look like sensible glasses. They're just the most fucking ridiculous. By the way, are those Google glasses? How could you tell? And it literally looks like giant cartoon. It's like so
Well,
fucking weird. These glasses make you look like someone that has to walk around every time you move somewhere and have people sign off. That's what those glasses look like. Yeah.
there's like a flyer and whatnot, posted in the neighborhood. But again, Michael Gray. I'm gonna pull it back. Here's a pull all the way back to where we were. Somehow Michael Gray put me over the top. Thank you, Michael Gray.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Well, I mean, between that and the Uniden cordless phone, I
Mhm.
mean, that was 200,000 points right there. So, hey, we don't pretend to understand how AI figures this stuff out. But I have to say, so far, I don't necessarily disagree. Like, I don't know what it's really looking at, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty good. I mean, I think that the balance of, this is not that obscure and this is pretty
Mm-hmm.
damn obscure,
Right.
um, it's pretty fair so far. And again, we have to just give into it, Chris. We have no choice because otherwise, how are you going to do it, right?
Otherwise, it's Judgment
Um,
Day. So, you know.
exactly, right? And we won't go into that at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, so there's the score. I think we've already done about 17 polls for this, and we barely even got into this episode. So
That's
we'll
right.
see who's trending.
Right.
Um, well, Chris, I wanted to jump into something just completely random here, which
Mm-hmm.
is the way of the show, and show you something that I stumbled across. And Chris, do you remember, speaking of rewinds, if we go back, gosh, I mean, it's got to be, dare I say, 20 episodes ago. I think it's that long ago that we did a whole episode
Wait.
on the bicentennial.
Time out. Did you just say, dare I say? Did that phrase just come out of your mouth?
Well, I also say rue the day, and I also say without further ado. So if you're looking for the most,
My mistake. But carry on.
yeah,
Carry on. You're
yeah,
right. Okay, you
no,
do. You do say.
yeah, I do. I say Malige and Milady and
Mhm.
kind sir. Yeah,
I forgot. I forgot you went to UCSD. I forgot.
the fact that I ever went on a date is a goddamn miracle, right? I thank the Lord every day that I have someone that is willing to to even consider me slightly cool. So,
Jeff,
all right,
Jeff, no one ever has said that as far as you know. Okay? I mean, no one has ever actually
not
said
as
that,
far as
but
I
okay.
know. So we did an episode on the bicentennial,
Mm-hmm.
and right around that time, we were having something in school basically shoved down our throats on a regular basis, and it was the metric system, right? This idea. You remember this, Chris? I
I
think it was
do.
maybe second or third grade when my memories start to kick in. Hey guys, this is what they said, and we believed them. We are going to make a transition. Can you fucking believe this? We are going to make a
Oh.
transition from inches and yards and feet and the ridiculous number for a mile, and it's going to be so simple, right? It's all going to be divisible by 10. We just got,
Mm-hmm.
lots and lots of classes on it. There was lots of commercials about it, lots of, hey, America, let's jump on board. And
No, we're America.
right. Yeah,
You jump on board with us, man.
exactly. Just
Sorry.
one of these examples. And I
Uh,
don't remember this one,
okay.
but let's take a look at this
Yeah.
in the Wayback Machine and try to get our mindset back into the day when a very young, naive America was going
Mm-hmm.
to switch over to the metric system. All right.
Got it. Okay.
Take 10 America to learn the metric way. It's a simple system based on tens that you can start today. Efficient, more accurate, more universal too. It's good for our economy, our country, and for you. Now there's the meter. The meter, it's a little more than a yard. You think about it that way, it's really not so hard. The leader. Now please don't sell it short. It works out fine if you keep in mind it's a little more than a quart. The gram, about the weight of a single raisin, about the same as a paperclip. Now isn't that amazing? Celsius, temperature scale you see. A summer day is about 25, a cold day is -3.
Take 10 minutes to learn the metric way. Write Metric Education, P.O. Box 111, Washington, D.C. 20044.
Take 10.
This message has been brought to you as a public service.
There's only one major inherently awesome thing about this that sticks out, but Chris, I'm going to let you have first crack at it. What is your first impression on that very optimistic commercial?
I was not much one for math. I think we've probably established that. And I think that whole
We
part
have.
that it was just sort of inevitable and that this is coming and that, hey, America, this is what you're going to do. And this is how simple it is. You're supposed to be excited, but it's also, posed as a threat. Right. And like in the sense that you're going to switch over to the metric system. And I remember having questions going, well, wait, what because I think for us, probably our generation, we had just kind of nailed down, like, how many ounces were in a gallon, right? Or how many ounces were in a cup or a pint or whatever. And even now and then I still kind of go, wait a second. Again, it didn't take. Now, I don't remember them ever saying, oh, guess what? That whole metric system stuff. Never mind. I don't remember that. All I remember is the buildup, and then nobody talked about it anymore.
The never mind was the collective ignorance and laziness of America speaking silently under the radar. That was the never mind. It was just this giant collective shrug, right? Where it just never happened. And my favorite part of that is they are literally calling us out, Chris. That commercial is calling us fucking stupid because it says, "Hey, can you do me a favor, you lazy pile of shit? Can you take 10 minutes out of your stupid life and just learn the easiest fucking thing you can possibly learn, Chris? What's a yard?
Right.
It's just, right?
Right.
It's just a little, sorry, what's a meter, right? It's just a little more than a yard, right?
Right.
What's a gram? It's just a paper clip. Can you imagine that, you dumb fuck? Can you just see that a gram is not that hard? I know some of us know what a gram is, right? Right? If you've been to any Hollywood parties, you certainly know what a gram is. But right? But right? I mean, they're trying so hard. And the idea was this should only take you 10 minutes. Then we can all switch to the metric system and just move on with our
Exactly.
lives.
The
And
simplicity.
America's like, 10 minutes? Are you
Right.
fucking insane? I don't have 10 minutes. What the hell is this
Right,
goddamn British fucking metric shit?
Right. Like I mentioned, like the simplicity, it's like you were, learning something, you were memorizing, conjugating verbs for Spanish class. Just take a few minutes. I remember specifically, and I don't know if I was watching Starsky and Hutch or it might have been, some sort of one of the cop shows in that regard where they talked about Mannix. I think it might have even been even later in the 80s. It might have been something like 21 Jump Street or something to the point where they talked about a kilo and they talked a kilo. 2.2 pounds. That is always
Very Miami Vice, but okay.
Okay, might have been, but it has always stuck with me. Oh, a kilo is 2.2 pounds, and even that, and that's one of those things we still kind of use. Like they seize a bunch of drugs at the border, and they would say, oh, they seized 500 kilos of cocaine.
The commercial is correct. Any bonehead should be able to figure this out in 10 minutes. We just can't do it because, Chris, to this day, there are people who yell at windmills, right? We still have an America that is just like, it's making wind. Do you see that thing? My God, it kills things and it's just
gives you cancer. Yeah. Maybe we could dig deep, or maybe one of our listeners could let us know. Send us an email at nicepulpod.com or make a comment on the website. Why we didn't move over to the metric system? Somebody probably knows. And if you do know, I don't know why you know, but I'm the last person to criticize anybody for knowing something obscure like that.
And by the way, speaking of which, if you do go to nicepulpod.com or just email us at nicepulpod@gmail.com, we do still want to hear your Easy Bake Oven stories. So I do want to call that back. Yeah, that was last episode, but please, we would love to hear how you were able to turn that into something edible and what it did taste like. That's really our fascination. Speaking, Chris, of something that we considered edible back in the day.
Oh, God.
For kids that wanted some new type of candy that was both reminiscent of something you already knew, but done in a whole new way. This to me is marketing genius. And I remember when it first came out, we were freaking the F out. All I can say is your mind is both going to be blown at how this thing was made, but it's also not going to be blown. So, and by the way, I think I'm doing a pun there without meaning to. So
that's okay. I was going to make an Eddie Albert joke myself, so that's all right. We'll just move on.
All right. Let's take a look at this. Let's go behind the scenes.
All right,
and look
let's do it.
At how one of our favorite treats back in the day was made.
Here, thousands of gum-based pellets are added to the mixer, along with the previously mixed ingredients, 667 pounds of sugar, and over 7 gallons of corn syrup. After 45 minutes, the batch is starting to look like a big wad of gum, too big to handle. Then, a worker takes a slicer and hand cuts the gum into 25-pound blocks. A skilled operator hand feeds each block of gum into an extruder, and then all that gum squeezes through a set of sizing rollers that flattens it down.
Also, during the course of the process, we add a lot of cornstarch. It keeps the gum from sticking to the rolls, and it gives that dusty baseball park experience to the gum itself once it's shredded.
The gum travels through a series of 4 rollers that compress it down even further to 1/16 of an inch and scores it, creating grooves in the sheet of gum.
To get the shreds, we move the gum from the curing section and we load those 2 cards.
1 pouch is filled and sealed every second.
Chris, I'm going to let you go first on this one,
Oh, boy.
man.
Okay.
Your reaction, any surprises, or is this pretty much what you thought it was?
Full disclosure, a former consumer of Big League Chew, as I think probably most of us were at one time when it came out. Before we moved on to the gateway, and it was a gateway candy before we tried actual
It
chewing
really
tobacco.
was. Yeah, that's right.
First of all, it's like, yes, Big League Chew. Now there was an urban legend that it was actually, there was a baseball player named Tug McGraw who was involved with with developing it, and I guess I remember hearing that as a kid, but I guess it's not true. Kind of disappointing. So yes, so we've got we've got this gum that is sort of and it comes in a foil pouch, and it reminds you of chewing tobacco, right?
Yeah.
Now,
right. Yeah.
Now let's take the step back and much in in the, can I use one of your terms? Can I say it's like in the milieu of candy cigarettes and candy cigars?
Yeah, but if you say it in a more snotty, arrogant way, milieu. Yeah, right. Do it like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's in that
Rapprochement.
it's in that
got it.
family. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey, not a writer's room, but a product development room, saying, all right, we need to be able to get to these kids with a simulated tobacco product. We've got the cigarettes, we've got the cigars. What's next? Chewing tobacco. And we were in, okay, marketed in a foil pack, and you could pull out these big wads of gum, put it in your cheek, just like, and it looks like it's chewing tobacco, but you're blowing bubbles, you're not spitting juice.
Right between the cheek and gum.
Oh, Walt Garrison. That was Skull, though. That was the dip stuff. That was the different kind of. But you're in again, same ballpark. Good, nice pull. And I was good with that part, and I think we were all good with that part. But what this video does is kind of lifting the curtain and showing you, hey, kids, were you wondering about how we produce Big League Chew? And actually, the answer was hell no. Because then once you see, here's how it's created, here's how it's developed, here's how it's mixed together with, they talked about like these pellets and the gobs of sugar and corn syrup, and how that's all mixed. And now, as we know, years later, like, yeah, that's not the stuff you want to be mainlining into your body. And then it's created and sliced up and diced and put in these, and they take the whole, and this thing goes on about the consistency and the experience and everything else.
Look, this reminds me so much. Again, I've mentioned this before about the experience of going into a See's Candy location. I would like to start again by saying I love See's Candy. They have the greatest customer service ever, the sweetest, most wonderful people by and large work in See's Candy. Obviously, no one's paying me to say that. They're just wonderful people. But they had a video playing on the big screen, right, where you could kind of see how some of the candies are made in the background. And look, here's the bottom line. Whatever that factory, whether you're making Big League Chew or See's Candy, originally looked like the day that they built it and started taking photos and video of things going through it, is very different than what it ultimately ends up looking like about 3 months later. And that's what this was. It was like, oh God, right? Now I know that they're using every health code. I'm sure that they do a good job, but at the See's Candy store, that video was like, you guys might want to turn that off. That does not look appetizing. That just looks like some shit that's going on in the back room in someone's house. It's like, and they didn't intend it to, but look, this Big League Chew, dude, all I can think of with that video of how they make Big League Chew is this. When I was sent to summer school one year to just basically, I think, get me out of my parents' hair, right? And get me away from my buddy Scott and not have me blowing up people's pools with M80s.
Setting anybody on fire.
Yeah. We had a teacher who was just the nicest lady ever, but she was very ahead of her time. She was very health conscious, to your point, Chris, with what you were talking about. And she kept saying when we were eating Big League Chew in class, guys, you don't have any clue the chemicals and the horrible stuff that is in there. Please, I
Wow.
beg you, don't eat that stuff, right? And of course, we're looking at her like, are you fucking high? The second that we got out of that class, we were shoving as much of it in our faces as we possibly could. But Chris, now we know, right?
Right.
When that guy says 670 pounds of fucking sugar, 7 gallons of corn syrup, 7 gallons of corn syrup, and eventually with gum-based pellets. Let's be super fucking vague about what that actually is. A gum-based pellet? I don't even want to know. Then we we t- we, we take our divider, right? Divider is what they called it, I think, right? Sorter, excuse me. A seasoned technician takes the sorter. And Chris, I'm not a manufacturing expert. I don't pretend to understand how you mass produce things, but that looks a lot like a garden shovel. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that is
And was it
a sorter. Yeah. And then the skilled technician sets them in the extruder. The extruder.
the extruder?
I don't want to even get fucking near the extruder. All I can tell you is that's a dangerous thing. And then the guy makes no bones about it. He's like, "Oh, you think that's bad? Check this out. You want to talk about a little bit of cornstarch? No, a F ton of cornstarch to give it that baseball flavor." Oh my God. And again, it's all, yeah, it didn't kill us. It's all fine. I mean, whatever. We lived, but that does not make it appetizing.
Right.
Holy
Well,
shit.
The extruder sounds like some B revenge, movie with Robert Ginty or something like that on late night Cinemax where they killed his family and he goes and extrudes everything.
Hold on.
Right. Yes.
Since you're going to win this round again, who the hell is Robert Ginty?
Robert Ginty. I think he was in The Exterminator. He was on Baba Black Sheep. I think he played TJ on Baba. Look him up.
Why do pilots always have to have that kind of an initial, right? Who was the initialed character who flew the helicopter in Magnum PI? What was his
TC?
character's name?
Was it TC?
TC. I was saying
Yeah.
TC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does the helicopter pilot always have to have initials? Why? What is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
We could ask Jan Michael Vincent after Werewolf, but I think he was just Stringfellow Hawk or some effed up thing like that.
Chris, say wolf. Say wolf.
Wolf.
Are you one of those people that says woof instead of wolf?
I'm
just
sometimes,
curious.
sometimes.
Have you sometimes said woof? Okay.
I have.
My wife doesn't believe it, but she says woof and she says library. So not always, but sometimes, yeah.
I can't say I have a hard time ordering iced tea and lemonade. Let's just put it that way. I have a hard time saying the term, the famous golfer who that was named after. I have a hard time. Don't make me say it.
What? Arnold Palmer?
I say like Arnold Palmer. I can't fucking say it, okay? And now you just made me say it. Anyway,
Chris.
Anyway,
Chris,
if we can jump back, can we get back to? I'm gonna drive this.
Hold on a second. One last question, then I'll leave you alone.
No.
Okay, go ahead. Were you a spaghetti kid or a puschetti kid?
Oh, I'm half Italian. Of course, I was a fucking spaghetti kid. Come on, man.
All right.
That's insulting.
Go take your. Like you might have had like a brain glitch or a major speech impediment or something. I was just curious how that was.
Go take your SpaghettiOs and your Chef Boyardee and shove it up your ass. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, no. See, I credit you. You probably could have learned the metric system in 10 minutes because you had the volume of the ingredients. Yeah.
You just divide it by 10. It's not that hard.
All right. But like I lost like when you talked about how much sugar and corn syrup and everything else. Because once he said like the gum pellets, that was it. I was blown. It's like, I don't eat anything that's a pellet. Okay. Number one, when you're talking about a pellet.
You did, but okay.
All right. And then, number two, I take issue with them describing it as edible. I'd say it was chewable because nobody could eat that shit. And I think if you swallowed, a bit of it, you'd probably never chew it again.
And let's be honest, it was such a far cry from the original baseball card gum. And we've talked about this before, but when you opened up a baseball card or any kind of a collectible card and there was a stick of gum in there, it was really a piece of balsa wood, right? That would cut and it would crack in your mouth like it had been treated with liquid nitrogen. It was completely solid.
Right.
And again, we made this comment before, but you would put it in your mouth and just let it soften over time, and then eventually it would become gum-like, and you could literally snap it, right? But Bubble Yum and Bubblicious and all this stuff we've discussed before, and Big League Chew, this was the first time that right out of the package, it was soft and you could actually chew it, which was kind of nice.
Right.
But I did hear a rumor, Chris, and maybe you heard this too. Originally, they were going to actually, get this, make it brown so that it really looked like chewing tobacco. And then they very quickly figured out nobody wants to pull a brown wad of shredded shit, right, out of a pouch and then start shoving it in your mouth. I would have done it. I think it would be cool if it had looked like actual, but I think the marketing people were like, no, we gotta keep it pink, man. Come on.
Right. Well, the gum cigars were pink, right? Although C's used to sell, and your beloved C's, I think, did sell like a chocolate cigar.
They still do
Did
have
they still
something
sell
like
it?
that.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can
You're
get.
probably right. You're probably when you go pick up some Scotch Mellows over the weekend, maybe you can see if they have that. But
Hey, Scotch Mellows. Oh my gosh.
better than those
Right
fucking
on.
peanuts you're talking about. Anyway,
Yes.
awesome. I mean, Big League Chew, and brings it all back. Thanks for bringing it back, Jeff.
Yeah. And I think by the time it started getting flavored, that was about the last time I had tried it. But as a kid, I remember I think they had grape flavored Big League Chew, and I remember that tasting pretty damn good. But
I don't think I
obviously
tried
I
it.
haven't had it in a long time. But I
was
think
a
they still
purist.
have it. You're right.
I was a purist. Okay.
Well, look, as we do, let's just skip to the next topic, like a stone across a stream.
Sands through the
like the opening
hourglass.
scene of Chris skipping stones across the lake. Opening scene of what TV show? Black and white.
Andy Griffith Show?
Oh, there you go. And can you whistle? Can you whistle the theme song? You can. I know you can.
I can, but I'm not going to do it here. You made fun of how I said wolf. I can't say Arnold Palmer. All right, I'm stopping. That's because people are probably clicking off right now when they see or hear that.
And that has
Yes.
absolutely nothing to do with what I was about to announce, but I just wanted to go off on a tangent.
You want to
so
make me
thank you.
do that, right? Yeah, I know. I have no idea what you're going to do with the edit of that, but
Yeah, thank you for
have
going
at
on
it.
that with me.
Yeah.
So I ran across this, and Chris, I'm not going to say really much going into this because this is the final one. Again, we call the last video here the dessert. But,
Okay.
I'm just going to go into it. Let's take a look, and let's try to remember that glorious window of time when this product was even a viable option for people. So, roll tape.
My folks make sure I get a good breakfast. You know, plenty of fiber and all that stuff. Also, they buy me nice school clothes. They got me a computer, a video camera, a compact disc player. But the problem is, hardly any of this stuff can really help me with my schoolwork.
There is something you could have which would help you a lot. Do you know what that is?
No, but I'm afraid you're going to tell me.
Yes. It's the new Encyclopedia Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you tell me. I've got a report due tomorrow.
On what?
On the exploration of space.
Take a look at this. From the first beeps of Sputnik to the triumph of the Apollo moon landing.
Hey, I'm impressed. This way, I wouldn't have to worry about getting to the library. It's right in my own home.
Day and night.
All right. Well, since this has turned out to be a Britannica commercial, I guess you're going to tell me how somebody could get a set.
Actually, I thought I might, yeah.
And I suppose you're going to throw one of those 800 numbers up on the screen. Am I right?
Might as well.
And there it is.
To find out how you can own the Encyclopedia Britannica, just call this toll-free number and we'll send you this free booklet telling you everything you need to know about your key to the information age.
I'm typing it into my computer so I won't forget it.
Good. And just for previewing Britannica in your home, your family will receive this 3-volume desk reference set.
Do we get to keep it?
Yes. So if you would be interested in owning the new Britannica,
I'm thinking it over.
just call this number. Encyclopedia Britannica, the library that never closes.
I thought it was my key to the information age.
It's both, actually.
Um, look, I'm going to just jump in here, Chris, and then I want you
Both
to
feet.
jump in, obviously, but
Head first.
I might as well, right? So I remember so many reports that I did in school with my encyclopedias. I don't think they were Encyclopedia Britannica, but I think all of us can relate to having encyclopedias at the house and going to them every time you had a report. But what I love about this is the moment in time where you know exactly what the Encyclopedia Britannica marketing department was trying to achieve. Listen, motherfuckers, how many Encyclopedia Britannicas do we have in that warehouse, Ted? Like 3 million? Yeah, right? And we are on the cusp of being completely irrelevant, right? They've got computers and all this other stuff.
Libraries.
Now, we got to jump on it, right? And the libraries right now are kicking our asses, right? We got to jump on this. So, of course, right, they show this kid. And my favorite part about this kid is, first of all,
Kid
he
rules.
looks like me at that age, just a complete dork with the hair and the giant,
Cousin
no
Oliver,
girl would ever like me glasses on. Yeah, cousin
wireless
Oliver look.
frames, right?
But I'm trying to picture just a normal person from a second or a third world country looking at that kid back in the early 80s. He's leaning back and he's like, yeah, I have shelter, water, access to bran and protein. My parents take care of me, right? They buy me fiber. They
Feathered
buy me
hair.
new clothes. I've got the feathered hair. And then he goes through the whole laundry list. I got a CD player. I got a camcorder. I got a computer. And I'm like, dude, by 1980s standards, that is about $75,000 worth of gear.
That kid was hooked up. Yeah.
But he's like, but I'm fucked because I have to do a report on space. And again, I'm trying to think to myself, who is the target audience, right? They're going after super rich, affluent, upper middle class parents who forgot that nothing that he has in front of him can help him because ultimately the internet has not been invented yet. And the best that he can do is play adventure on an Atari, right? Where it has the dragon that has spits and looks like a duck, right? So we're at that sweet spot, right? Where you can't get access to this information yet. You still need something. And it's like, man, these are expensive fucking books. Let's hit our target fast and let's hit it hard before something happens, right? And we can no longer sell these fucking things.
We had the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I don't know about you, Jeff, but a full disclosure here, because I think now the statute of limitations has run out. It's like, when I would do a report, right, it's like I would pretty much go to the Encyclopedia Britannica and I'd write my report based on whatever I can find in that. Even if I had to have 3 or 4 or 5 sources in my bibliography, I would take all of it from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Then maybe I would take a trip to the library, either at school, not library, as Deanna says, the library, and maybe I would write down 3 or 4 other books, and I would put them on my bibliography, although I never checked them out, let alone crack them open, because I figured at that point in time, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty good with writing and fleshing stuff out, and I got away with it, Jeff. I got away with it.
I love how you're congratulating yourself for getting away with something that there was no fucking way on the planet that anybody could ever have checked on, right? Hey, I got away with it. It's like, what were your teachers supposed to do? How are they supposed to ever effing know if you are lying or not? Hey, I don't know if this is true. They can't look anything up. And again,
exactly my point.
Let's go back to that kid, because I really think the tone of the whole thing all comes from that kid's character, which is that kid is the most apathetic, disenchanted kid on the planet, right? The whole entire character is yawn. It's just like, wow. That's the target, right? You can see again, Chris, we always go back to this, the marketing department, these old guys at the Encyclopedia Britannica pitching each other. How are we going to get past these kids? They got camcorders. I mean, how am I supposed to compete with a CD-ROM drive? come on, guys, put your heads together. How much were these things? Were they like $3,000 for a set of books? Like, do you remember? What did they cost?
I don't remember, but I do remember you could pay like installments. They had like 25 of the first 25 volumes, or not even 25. It was just like it was 23 volumes, because then like, X, Y, and Z were all crammed into one, right? So it had basically that the first 23 volumes, X, Y, and Z, and then maybe they'd throw in like an atlas or something like that to really entice you. But no, you're absolutely right. And maybe the pitch was like, well, honey, we can't put a price on Jimmy's education. It's like, well, yeah, you can. It's these books that were going to be obsolete.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
It's $1,700.94.
Right.
That's the price. It's not like the Time Life book club that you and I talked about, right?
Right.
The Gunfighters will be the first episode of these leather-bound, beautiful editions that recount the Old West, right? They can't divide it up like that, right? Because what are you supposed to do? If your report has anything to do with the letter A through the letter C, well, that's what you're going to get the first week. If you have anything that starts with the letter D, you're totally fucked until that book comes in. Like they can't divide it up, right? So they're like, how the hell are we going to soften the blow on how much it costs for these goddamn books?
Right. And do not do any reports on Venezuela or Vietnam, because you can't do that for months.
I will say, though, that God bless the library, because, Chris, I will maybe end with this memory that probably should be made into a little Hallmark movie or something. But I actually have super fond memories of the library for one reason and one reason only. When I was in junior high school, there was the cutest girl. I was completely in love with her, had a total crush on her, and I met her in the library.
Ooh, smart girl.
I went in there to do a report. It was pretty much just me and 3 other people in there. And the cutest, coolest, most awesome girl on the planet was reading a book of some kind and doing a report. And we just had this sort of like literally unspoken relationship that occurred over 4 or 5 days, right? Where we would occasionally look at each other, smile, make a little joke, but then laugh because we had to be quiet. And that was it. And it was just these staring at each other and giggling and then grabbing weird books that, were kind of funny. And then she would get picked up, I guess, by her mom or whatever. And maybe she lived a long ways away. I don't know. But this went on for 3 or 4 days. And so my mom was like, are you done with that report? Man, you're really putting a lot of work in. This is really going to be a big report for you. But I'm like, well, Mom, it's alligators. I mean, there's a lot more to alligators than you might realize. But it was just an excuse, right? And I would go down there. And again, every day, same time, she would be there. And of course, my heart was broken on the day when I returned to the library. And of course, she wasn't there. Never got the name, never took it beyond that, probably because the magic somehow of this relationship was only inside the library, right? It was just, that was kind of the pattern. So there's no real ending to this other than for those 3 or 4 days, Chris, it was the coolest girlfriend you could ever have, in my mind anyway, right?
And then a month later, your mom said, Jeff, why did you get a C on your alligator report? Right? Because you actually
and I said to her, alligators? What the fuck are you talking about?
Here, I thought that is a great story. Okay, that is a cute little after-school special. Literally,
cute,
right?
Yeah,
that was a literal after-school special. I mean, here I thought you were going to say you really loved the Dewey Decimal System and those little fucking drawers, those skinny drawers that pulled everything out.
I like those.
I always thought those drawers were cool. Those drawers
I like a microfiche. Cool. That was kind of cool.
The microfiche was awesome. Much cooler than the Encyclopedia Britannica. All right, Jeff. I don't know how we got here. From I don't know. And again, from the deep caverns of my brain with Michael Gray and touching back with the teen idols and good old Eddie Albert, another cameo. From the metric system, the thread of the metric system, apparently you picked it up in 10 minutes or less. To Big League Chew, much like how sausage is made. Yeah, you don't want to see how Big League Chew is made or was made, and wrapped all up by the cocky ass kid with a NASA level computer, but still cannot do a report on space and needs these
No,
big ass books. And
that's
then,
right.
God forbid, he goes where, Jeff? To a place that
The
seems to be near
library.
and dear to your heart, the
Yeah.
library.
I think that wraps it up in a nice bow. That was fun. What do you think, man? Until next time?
Until next time, and library girl, if you're out there, you know where to find us.
We had joy, we had fun,
Fucking
we
Terry
had
Jacks, man.
seasons in the sun, but the hills left to climb were just starfish on the brine. Wait, no, that's not how it went.